Okay, thank you for joining us for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting on April 20th. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and going to begin with the land acknowledgement. We would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the town of Shelburne resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, including the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Chippewa, and the people of the Three Fires Confederacy. These traditional territories upon which we live, work, play, and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and resources. We encourage residents to review the call to action information by visiting the website dccrc.ca/educational links to further research and educate oneself. The first item that we have on the agenda is the committee terms of reference. Just want to do a quick highlight of the focus of the committee, roles, and the expectations of the committee. This information was included with the agenda package, so I'm not going to read everything in detail, but Denise, if there's anything that I missed that you specifically want me to highlight, please feel free to jump in. Okay, so the mission statement for the DEI committee is to develop and nurture community where everyone can reach their full potential. The goal is to empower all members of the community in order to remove barriers throughout our town caused by social injustice, inequality, discrimination, and racial trauma. We are committed to engaging the voices of our community to promote equality and compassion for all. The mandate of the committee is to advise council and work with council, making recommendations, providing monitoring and measuring roles to ensure that the town of Shelburne applies a DEI lens to policies, services, and programs. Okay, part of the DEI committee is the accessibility committee is part of this, and that is to encourage and facilitate accessibility on behalf of all people by promoting awareness and sensitivity and encouraging cooperation as well in there. So that being said, does anyone have any comments or questions about the mission statements or the mandate? And hi, Ryan, I do see you there. Walter?
Sorry. Yeah, on the mission statement, because we've now included accessibility into the committee, there is no mention of what you just said at the very end of your comments there about making the community more accessible for everyone. So I don't know how we can add that on to the mission statement, but it's missing from that part of the mission statement.
Sorry, I do have the mission statement here for accessibility as well that I can read as well. That is included in this package as well.
No, I understand that, but how do we combine the two rather than have them separated? Or do we want to keep them separated, I guess, as a committee?
So we can look.
As a question for the members, I don't
know. We can put that to add to be a discussion item either later or at another meeting.
Sure. I'm
okay. Okay, so I've made a note of that. As far as roles and expectations of the committee, I do want to highlight that once the chair of the committee is chosen, we do ask that if you are unable to attend a meeting, that you do notify both the chair and myself so that we can ensure that we will have quorum for meetings. And I would also ask that if you could please email me with authorization to share your email address with the rest of the committee. You'll notice that the email that I sent out with the Zoom link and the agenda Other than the counselors, the email addresses were blind carbon copied because I didn't have permission to share your emails. So if you could please send me an email letting me know if I can share your email address with the committee. That would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so Denise, unless you had anything that you wanted to add there to that section? Okay, so the next item on the agenda is disclosures of pecuniary interest. So if there ever is an item where you have a financial interest related to an item on the agenda, you are required to declare it as a pecuniary interest. You can declare it at the beginning of the meeting or when that item is discussed. So, okay, so then the next item on the agenda is the selection of the committee chair and vice chair. So at this point, you can nominate yourself to be chair or vice chair, or you can nominate someone else to be chair or vice chair. If you nominate someone else, I will ask if they accept the nomination. So at this point, we're going to, sorry, go ahead, Denise.
Also, I just think recognizing that some people do know one another and some may not, it might be really helpful just to do a quick roundtable for everyone just to share, they may be, what their passion or enthusiasm or whatever that context is, so that they have some context as well in who they would choose among themselves or their colleagues to be chair and vice chair. And if not, then that could be, if people need time to digest that, not to push you, but it could be actually then postponed till the next meeting. So if you agree with that, I mean, I don't know all of you, so I would love to know all of you.
I think that's great. Thank you. Karen, I see your hand is up. Did you want to start, Karen?
Your mic's off.
You're muted.
Yes, I am muted. Actually, my internet is really weak. It keeps cutting in and out, so I apologize if I miss what people say. But I've sort of thought about, actually electing a chair and vice chair at our first meeting, because we don't really know each other. We don't, like I've met, oh my goodness. Yeah, I've met a few, there's just myself and sorry, I forget your name. What's your name here? Nicholas. Like we met last year, but we really don't know each other. And the fact that there's only two of us here, so it's very, very difficult to, I think, to elect a chair at this time. Maybe we should, put that off until the next meeting. But we can share who we are at this meeting, which is a good thing.
Yeah, so that would be great. So what we can do is we'll just, as Denise recommended and as Karen agrees, if everyone's okay, we'll just do a quick introduction about yourselves, and then we'll get a motion to defer the selection of the committee chair and vice chair until the next meeting. Okay. So Karen, would you like to start by introducing yourself? May I put you on the spot there?
Oh, yes, that's quite all right. Some of you know me. I was on the first DEI committee, born and raised in Shelburne, now retired. Spent most of my working career working in labor and employment law. And I had the privilege at my last place of work, which was a global company. I was part of the DEI committee there. So we had a specialist come in and teach us all about DEI. So I do have that in my background, and I'm very familiar with Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. I'm the mother of a disabled child, or a challenged child. I'd like to say challenged in a way. She has a severe hearing loss. Her first language is sign language. And sort of my main focus of coming to DEI is probably to give a voice to the disabled, because I've been involved with the disabled community, well, for daughter's 35, so I would say for 33 years. So I'm also interested in all the other areas, but that's my strength. And I'm hoping probably by being on the DEI that I could actually, being born and raised in Shelburne and leaving and coming back, I can maybe shed some light on how, if we run into some problems with DEI and the thoughts and of what people in this community actually think of who we are and what we are, that I can probably, knowing a lot of these people and how they think, I could maybe shed some light on some of those issues. Should we run into them, but hopefully not. So that's me, retired. I'm your token senior on the committee.
No,
Thanks,
you're
Karen.
not.
Or are you, Walter? Oh, I guess Walter's there too. I actually went to high school with Walter. So that's it.
Thanks, Karen. Would someone else like to go next?
I can go ahead if you want else.
Thanks, Walter. Thank you, Walter.
So I'm Walter Benado. I've been a counselor for 23 years here in the town of Shelburne. As Karen said, I went to school here in the town. I've also been promoting accessibility, and again, like Karen, that is one of the areas that most of my strength is in, other than municipal politics, I guess, is the accessibility side. About 22 years ago, I asked council if we could have an accessibility committee, and council of the day was very generous and allowed us to form it, even though we were at that point only just under 5,000 population. And so for 23 years, I've chaired the committee on and pretty well almost all the way through, except for a few years where I was able to get someone else to finally chair it and let me have a bit of a rest. I've also been on the Deferred County Accessibility Committee from when they formed it up until about 8 years ago. I was a part of that as well, and chair of that for a few years of that committee. So a lot of my strength is in the accessibility side, fortunately, because of my own situation. The other thing that I would like to mention along with Karen is, again, being a resident of this town for as long as both Karen and I have been, we have a bit of an understanding of somewhat what people in the town may or may not think towards the newer people that are moving into the town. I've heard the comment quite often as in my walks around the town and speaking with people is, why are we letting those people in? And the question I always have is, who are those people? When were we supposed to close the door and stop people from moving in? And I find that that is a situation, unfortunately, that there's that mental situation within the town, and I'd like to see that removed. I don't like to hear the comment, those people. There's no such thing in my mind as those people. We're all residents of this town, and we need to make sure that this town works and plays and are happy to be together within the town and make the town more prosperous than it currently is. So that's who I am basically, and where my intentions are.
Thank you, Walter. Okay, could I get a volunteer to go next?
I can go next if that's okay.
Thank you, Nicholas.
My name's Nicholas Knight. I've been a resident of Shelburne for 8 years now, and I've had an interest in DEI for numerous years now. I work in the corporate environment, large corporate environments. I'm a project manager, and I tend to work in government and large industry in the technology space, and I have served on other DEI committees for these corporations. So that's where my interest really started. It's an interesting story, though. About a year ago, I was interviewing for a company, and they wanted to know a little bit more about me. And I said I was on the DEI committee. for Shelburne. And they kind of looked at me a little bit taken back by that. And they said that usually towns or cities don't have a DEI committee. And I said, well, yeah, I like to think that our town is really progressive and forward thinking and has that in place. So, you know, it was available to me, and that's why I stepped up and volunteered to be on the committee. So I found that was really interesting, that they kind of honed in on that it wasn't the usual thing. But in my world, it's a very usual thing to have and to be inclusive and to always be aware of all the diversity, and in terms of people who are differently abled than ourselves as well, taking that into considerations in our decisions. So that's been my experience, but I'm happy to be back for another year. And I look forward to meeting or working with all of you. And that's me. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicholas. Okay. Would someone else like to volunteer to go next?
I can go.
Thanks, Ryan.
Does Shane want to go? No.
Oh, I can go after you, Ryan.
No worries. Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Jagan. My husband and I moved to Shelburne in July of last year, and we are actually building a house in Shelburne, one of the new developments. And interestingly enough, him and I have both heard a number of anti-development commentary from different residents throughout the town. My background in DEI is that I work in communications, and I've worked for a number of healthcare organizations. And in the portfolio I typically get assigned in each of the organizations, it happens to be diversity and equity. And my experience is really focused on helping organizations articulate what diversity and equity means in relation to their brand, to their client base, in any capacity. My current role is at William Osler Health System in Brampton. Oh, and I guess my interest in joining the committee is that in moving to a new town, coming from the Peel region, my partner and I have both been looking for ways to, in some way, give back to the community. And I thought that this committee, given my professional background, would be a good way to leverage my talents.
Thanks, Ryan. Okay, Shane, would you like to go next?
Certainly. So like Walter, I sit on council. Last term, I was a councillor. This current term, I did run and was successful for the deputy mayor position. With regards to my overall work experience, I do represent one of the largest employers in the county. So I do work at KTH, where I'm the president and basically plant manager. So that uniqueness allows us to see a variety of different things. Generally speaking, KTH sees the changes that are going to happen within Shelburne probably 2 to 3 years in advance. So the level of diversity that we have in the workplace and that sort of thing kind of follows through, and a couple of years later pushes through to the community. And that's one of the main reasons why I really was adamant about getting onto this committee, is to, work so that we can look at better things for the diversity, the inclusion, and bringing the whole of Shelburne together, and, moving forward, making things a better place for all.
Thank you, Shane. And Len, that brings us to you.
Hi, I'm Len Gashardi. I've been on council for about, I don't know, 3 months now, guys. Yeah, I think something like that. Prior to that, I was on the DEI committee in the last session of when the DEI committee was in. Former high school teacher. I was born and raised here. I work with seniors 2 days a week, driving them around, so I see the accessibility challenges as well. So for me, it's trying to get, I mean, you're seeing all of the different you see the very young and you see the very old, right? And how the diversity demographic is starting to change, or has been changing in the town. Started to see it in the high school about in a big way about 6 or 7 years ago. And that's, you know, one area of interest, and the other area of interest is in the accessibility side. So I'm just here to help out where I can. And yeah, I'm also a senior. Walter, Karen, somewhat. I don't know, what are we calling senior? In the States, I'm a senior. I'm over 55. Here, I'm not quite a senior. So I have no idea what a senior is in Canada anymore. That's about it for me.
Thank you, Len. Denise, even though you're not an option for chair or vice chair, would you just like to introduce yourself? Say a few words.
Len, you're a junior, senior. And Nicholas, because you said you're a year, I just want to clarify, it's a 4-year term.
Sorry?
It's
You
4
said-
years, but Nicholas, 4 years, the term. You said a year. I just want to make sure you think you're only here for the year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke then. Yes.
That's okay. I thought, no, you're staying, Nicholas. Okay. So I'm the Chief Administrative Officer of the town of Shelburne. I've been with the town as part of the team since early 2018. Prior to that, I've been with a number of municipalities as CAO or very senior roles as director. Having worked for larger cities, obviously, a more diversified community was certainly the character of that. Certainly super excited about where we've come from and where we're going together. Council's priorities also are a commitment and a reflection of that. Staff's job is to certainly support this committee. I am your formal staff liaison. Significant work was done with the last DEI team. I know a couple of them are no longer with us, but certainly I think you'll be carrying that on. There's some really exciting things that we hope to be doing this year, connecting you with the other DEI committees, namely the county and Orangeville's and Mono's. There's some exciting projects. There's a lot of work to do, but I think the committee will make the community a better place. And to sort of echo, I guess, some of the challenges, I think all of those can be overcome with education and engagement. And you certainly all will play a significant leadership role in helping us advance together those milestones that we need to achieve. But I think to Nicholas' point, we should be very proud as a community from where we've come to where we are. We're recognized as being leaders, and I don't think that's any small feat. And credit to all those that led before, because certainly they did an amazing job at setting the foundation to get us to go towards where we will be. So I look forward to working with all of you. There will be a lot of work, but I'm sure we'll have some fun doing it at the same time.
Thank you, Denise. And I have spoken with all of you, but just a refresher, I'm Alice Weil. I'm the Deputy Clerk and Committee Coordinator. So I will be communicating with you in regards to agendas and minutes and any other communication necessary for the committee. I have been with the town of Shelburne almost a year now, and was very excited when I heard that there was a DEI committee with the town, as that was not something that I had familiarity with in my previous municipal roles. So I've learned a little bit in the last year that I've been with the town of Shelburne, but I know I have a lot more to learn, and I look forward to working with each of you. So for the selection of the committee chair and vice chair, just to give you some time to dwell on it and think about it, we can move that to the next meeting. So we'll add it to the next agenda, but I would require a motion to defer the selection of the committee chair and vice chair to the next meeting. So if I could just get a mover and a seconder to defer this motion to the next meeting.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Walter. And Karen, you're willing to second it? Thank you. And is everyone in favor of that? Thank you. That is carried. So the next item on the agenda is sorry, Karen, did you have a question? You're on mute, Karen.
Just so that I'm clear on the election of the chair and the vice chair, are the the council members that are part of the committee can be chair and vice chair, or is it just the people that they've selected?
No, the council members could be chosen to be chair or vice
Oh, okay.
chair if that is the wish of the committee. Yes,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
no problem.
That opens up. There's a few more people to choose from now.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. So we just, under general information, we did just want to give a little bit of information about what the budget is for the committee for 2023 and what it would be used for. And if you give me just one moment, I can share it with you on my screen. Okay. So because the accessibility committee has been combined with the DEI committee, you will see on this screen that there was, the accessibility committee is still listed here because there was money in 2022, but the budget for this year is got carried forward from last year. There was a motion from the DEI committee to put unused funds into a reserve. So there's approximately $9,123 in reserves. And then you will see that the budget, the adopted budget for 2023 is $15,000. So events that are already in progress for this year would be National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, also known as Orange Shirt Day, on September 30th. And staff have started preparations for that already. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Denise, please. But there will be funds from this budget that will be allocated towards that for expenses. And then other decisions made by the committee. This is the budget that you have to work with for this year. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments about the budget? Okay, the next item we need to discuss is the meeting schedule. It is up to the committee to determine what night of the week is going to work best for the committee, what week of the month, how often the committee would like to meet, and what time of day works for the committee. So we tried a couple times to get committees going. We want to make sure the date is convenient for everybody. We do not want to schedule it on a day when a committee member is already booked. So tonight is a Thursday night. Is Thursday nights convenient for everybody on the committee? Or is there a preference for another night?
Yeah, I'm good with Thursday at 6:30.
Okay.
As long as it isn't on the first Thursday of the month, just because I need to work evenings in Brampton during that time, that works for me.
Okay, so not the first Thursday. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Karen, did you have any preference?
Actually, I agree with Ryan. The first Thursday of the month doesn't work for me, but the third Thursday is fine with me. At 6:30, the time is fine as well.
Thursday's good for me.
Okay. And 6:30 is good for everybody?
Yep.
Okay, so I will look at doing it for the third Thursday of each month. Is anybody available earlier than 6:30, or is 6:30 the earliest that works for people? Like would 5:30, 6, is 6:30 the best time?
I think that's the best time for me.
Okay,
6:30 work.
Yeah, 6:30 works.
okay.
And I'm flexible.
Okay, so just bear with me one moment. I'm just going to pull up my calendar. Okay, so in May, The Canada Day Committee has actually already got a meeting booked on the third Thursday. Could we possibly for May move it to the fourth Thursday, but the traditional scheduled day would be the third Thursday. Does anybody have an issue with the fourth one just for May? That would make it May 25th.
No, that should be fine.
Okay.
Will you be sending out a calendar invite? Okay.
I'll send out a calendar invite as well as in an email. I will include what the third Thursday is so that if for some reason you can't open the calendar invite on your email program that you use, I'll also give you a list of the dates. There will be, typically the committees do take a break in August, so there will be no scheduled August date. Okay, so just to make you aware of that. And then it will just put dates until the end of 2023. So December 2023 towards the end of December, end of November, we can look at it and make sure that that date and time is still working for everybody. And if something comes up, please make us aware of that. Denise?
Alice, while we have everybody, can we just check? Does anybody not have Microsoft-based appointments so that if we want to send you a calendar appointment with the Zoom link right in it, so you don't lose the Zoom link in email, that Alice can combine them so that you're not getting separate information from us? But we just know, I think Alice had mentioned if you're Yahoo or certain platforms, and I'm sure the people that are so technical know this or can help us, you can't readily accept this. So you'll have to be, we just don't want to create, 3 different approaches to scheduling a meeting. So you can, Alice will follow up with you on that just to ensure that we schedule meetings in the most strategic and effective way possible.
And thank you to those of you that have already emailed me in regard to permission to share your email address. That's much appreciated. Okay, so unless there's any more conversation or comments in regards to the meeting schedule, we'll move on to new business. Okay, so I made a note here to, as Walter asked, for the mission statement to include accessibility information. Did you want to discuss that now, Walter, or did you want me to move that to a future meeting?
I think if we move it to a future meeting, it'll be fine.
Okay, that just gives staff a little bit more time to look into it, to discuss it and determine how best to put it on the agenda. And then the committee can discuss it at that time when we have information to share with them. Okay, thank you, Walter. And Denise, did you have some items that you wanted to bring up to the committee at this time?
I think what is best, Alice, is we could probably do similar to new business at the next meeting and just do a list of potential items that the committee will be dealing with. I think some of the things that I mentioned in terms of my other comments was that certainly there's some established programs and projects, Truth and Reconciliation as per Orange Shirt Day. There's a couple of other projects that are carryovers from the other term, and some of the things that we're initiating through our operations, similar to the crosswalk that we have at William Street for Orange Shirt Day. There is also plans to do a crosswalk in celebration of Pride Month. The location yet to be determined, but there's a couple of things that are within our operating budget that I think I should probably list for this committee so that they're aware of those initiatives, and we can bring that forward at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Did anybody else have anything they would like to bring up in new business? Walter?
Sorry, just I want to follow up on what Denise just mentioned. When you does the committee decide the location for the Pride crosswalk, or is that going to bring forward different locations that the committee can look at to decide?
So we had brought the idea of the crosswalk program to this committee just in principle, and we brought information back to council in the past. We bring any crosswalk approval to council. it has to be approved by you in terms of the location, and we certainly can review and discuss that in terms of location options with this committee before we even recommend that to council as one process option. We had come up with a tentative plan though, in terms of where they would be located, and they were primarily downtown to create a corridor and type of high visibility walking presence and making it part of almost a visitor experience as well. And we had requests as well from the school, the two schools, that potentially walks could be initiated in that part of the community. But I do have the original list that we had circulated to prior committee, as well as what was, I think, an information that was sent to council as well. But I can bring that back to the next meeting.
Excellent, thank you.
And Karen?
As with the last, will we be given a matrix to work on, so we know what is expected of us sort of on a go forward basis? Or will we just be doing issues as they come up? Because we had a matrix we actually worked on before.
So I can interject there. Thanks for your question. So a lot of the matrix work was very specific to the task force, and a significant amount of that has been completed. I would suggest that as you carry forward, there may be new things outside of that original matrix that you would like to prioritize, and having sort of a working outline of where you would like to take the committee as a group to create some goals and I guess objectives would be beneficial, like not a strat plan, but just maybe a mini analysis, and then we can create a template of that to create you with some KPIs, if that's what your group would like to do.
All right, so we will have some of these items for discussion on the next agenda. If there is something that you would like to bring forward to the next agenda, please email me and we will get items on the agenda that way until we get the chair determined. But going forward after that, you would be emailing the chair. Okay, so does anyone else have anything they wanted to discuss under new business before we move to the next item? Okay, so then the next item is the adjournment. So if we could get a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Nicholas. And a seconder. Thank you, Walter. And is everyone in favor of adjourning the meeting to reconvene at the call of the chair? Thank you very much. I thank you for coming this evening. We will see you on the 4th Thursday in May, and we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:08 p.m.